This is Stan Fischler, and this is the Power Play Break, the place to talk about pucks.
Hey everybody, it's Chris Riley coming today on the Power Play Break from Chelsea Piers. We have a lot of first-time things happen here on the Power Play Break, and we have the first female hockey player who's going to join us today, Alana Blahoski from the 1998 Winter Olympic hockey team. Thank you for coming on.
Oh, you're welcome.
Let's go back now to your time. What was your first experience with hockey? What was the first time you saw it? What was your reaction? How old were you?
So I was 6 years old. My father was coaching my oldest brother, and my mother was a nurse and working the night shift. So my father was on the ice coaching and responsible for babysitting me. And I was jumping off the bleachers and doing all sorts of things. So he said, I have to figure out a way to just keep my eye on her. And he put equipment on me and put me on the ice and paid no attention to me. And I guess I skated around, and by the end of the first session, I looked at him and I said, I had so much fun. I want to do that again. So he kept doing that until I signed up for the local MITE program.
Now, you start with that little intro to hockey. How old were you before you started actually playing, like an organized on a team, or did you do clinics like most of the people do when they start out?
Never clinics. It's funny because I'm a power skating coach right now, and I think I lost my father in '98, so he never really knew what, he doesn't know that I teach skating. And I think he would actually think it was rather ridiculous to say, you know what, I'm in New York City, I make a really good living, and I make really good money an hour to go out there with people and teach them how to skate. Because for us, when we were kids, it was like, just go skate. Like, I could never say to my father, can I go take a skating lesson? He would either say, sure, let me get my skates, I'll teach you, which he did teach us, or he would say, just go skate. Like, why do you need a lesson? Like, you learn by doing it. Yeah. So yeah, I did go to one skating clinic when I was maybe in junior high or high school, and it was a weekend clinic. It was Ken Yackel, Kenny Yackel at Aldridge Arena in Minnesota, and I mean, it was great. It was really, I learned a lot, but.
Now, Minnesota is known as the state of hockey.
Yes.
And you were coming up at a time, were there a lot of girls playing at that time with you, or you were the only one from your town, or were you kind of like this, like the tomboy in a sense?
I thought I was the only one in the world. Like that was how it was. I just, my brothers had played, and I was playing with the boys. Never saw another girl. We would go to the tournaments, and it would always be the father and son tournaments, and they would give out the little buttons. Yes. And my dad would take a little Sharpie and kind of write daughter, and he was so proud. And when I got to junior high, I remember seeing a flyer in an ice rink for a girls team that they were putting together, and it was Doug Woog, who was the coach of the Gophers.
Yes, Minnesota. It
was his brother. Who had a daughter that played. So his niece, Joy Woog, played. And I remember talking to my parents, and I was slight. I was like a small kid, and they said, why don't we go see about this tryout? And I was amazed. Some girls came from 2 hours away, and it was all girls that were in the same situation as I was in, and the talent level was incredible. And I realized I wasn't the only one doing it, so then I made the transition to girls hockey.
Now, you have two brothers, one older, one younger. Did they ever get chided by their friends, oh, your sister plays hockey, or did their friends think it was cool, or did they have to stick up for you, or anything of that nature?
I don't, they never teased me about it. I don't think they ever were in a situation where they had to stick up for me. I mean, there was one incident when I was, again, in junior high. We were learning checking, and my dad was actually the coach. So I think it was a peewee. And we were learning checking, and there was a boy on my team, and we kept kind of, going against one another, and I kept hitting him. And then the next day at school, he was running around saying that I didn't know how to play hockey, and I was really weak, and I didn't know what I was doing, so I challenged him to a fight. I said, okay. I said, let's fight. And just thinking that he would say, no, I'm not going to fight a girl. I'm not going to. So he agreed to the fight. And my brothers heard about it, and so they were excited for me to fight. They were. So it was happening on the bus stop, and it was the last stop on the bus. So, you know, word spread, and nobody got off the bus, and so it was a jam-packed bus, and then everybody gets off, and standing there, and yeah, I didn't want to fight. I didn't know how to fight, you know, other than like with my brothers. And sure enough, we got into a fight. And
how'd you do?
You know, I threw the best right. Like just
brothers give you any advice saying, you know, hey, this is how I do it, or
no advice at all, and I ended up giving the kid a black eye, and
you still see him?
I won the fight. Yeah, we ended up dating like later on in high school, like, you know, but so that was my one and only hockey fight.
Now you come out of that, you're in the junior high time of your life, and you've tried out for this team. Does your high school, what high school were you at that point?
St. Paul Johnson.
Okay, now did they have a girls team? Because I know women's hockey now is tremendous out there.
Tremendous. Actually, when I was playing for the Minnesota Thoroughbreds was the name of the girls team that we started. And I remember walking into ice rinks in Minnesota and having to sign petitions saying that we refused to play ringette. They still in Minnesota at that time, and that would be late 80s. Mid to late 80s, they were trying to get all the girls to play ringette. And so ringette is essentially, you're holding a stick with no blade, and then you play with this giant rubber ring.
Yes.
And everything else is the same, it's just foolish. It's not hockey.
You want to play hockey.
So we would really sign these petitions saying, you know what, just let us play. Like, you know, create opportunities for girls to play, and just let us play the game. It's everybody's game.
We'll have more on the Power Play break after this with Alana Blahoski.